Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Okay, as you all noted, I set up some prerequisites for doing this little operation here. I'm going to go over them for you real quick. As you can see, we're all used to by now the shitty random world generator that Fun Pimps has in 7 Days to Die. The before image, you can see how horrible the biomes end up. As you can see, the city amount that I have set up right now looks pretty good, but the biomes just stink. Nobody wants to play on a map like that. After, this is what you can end up with. You're going to need a graphics editor, Photoshop, GIMP, something similar. I'm a Photoshop guy, so that's what I'm choosing to use. The operations are similar in GIMP and some of the other programs. That'll be up to you to figure out the differences. You're also going to need this 7 Days to Die map previewer. I will have a link in the description. I tried putting it in at the beginning of the stream, and for some reason, Restream just didn't like it. So right after the stream's over with, I'll put that link in the description and all will be kosher there. And you're also going to want to have a pre-generated map that you're happy with. In this case, the map you're looking at is the one I ended up with for the purposes of this tutorial. And let's get started with that. I've got Photoshop opened already, and I'm going to show you the 7 Days to Die launcher, the map previewer launcher, and it already has, after installing it in the main screen, it already has the places that you should be able to look for the locations of your pre-generated world files. In this particular case, mine were in the default, which is going to be in your user folder directory, app data, roaming, 7 Days to Die, generated worlds, whatever the name of the map was that you created. The game folder in this case, as shown in the instructions down on the bottom there, may be different for you. I currently run Where's UK Alpha 20 all-in-one overhaul through the 7 Days to Die mod launcher. So that puts everything in a different place. Really worth getting, because if you play different overhauls or different mod sets and things like that, you can set it up for different profiles without trashing your original or base game that's in Steam. You're going to go ahead and generate that preview based off of that map, and you'll end up with this in the folder. It is listed as preview.png. You'll load that up, and you're also going to want to go into that folder and also load the biomes.png. There's that guy right there, that horrible mess that we're going to fix today. So what we're going to want to do is we are going to, for reference's sake, select that, and we're going to make a copy of it. I'm using my hotkeys in Photoshop, which is same as Windows, Control-C. I'm going over to Preview, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that layer in. That's Control-V. Now, we're not going to be doing anything with this layer. We're just leaving it here for reference, and instead of having to bounce back and forth between images, it's just going to make it easier to go to this layer here. So there's that. Right away, look at the preview map and kind of try to decide for yourself what you want to do with it. You know, what part of it do you want to make snow? What part of it do you want to make desert? You can go back and modify this as many times as you want. You can even change it and just put it back in the folder during gameplay to change up the biomes that your POIs are in. So right away, we need to start off by making a new layer. Doesn't matter really what this layer is named right now. And I'm pretty sure I have an idea where I'm going to be putting snow. where I'm going to be putting things of the sort. So I want to kind of use my mouse to kind of run myself over an area and get an idea where I'm going to be going with the snow. So I know how far down, up and down, how far down I want to do a fill. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle them through here, I think. I might do something a little crazy with that, but in this particular case, it's as simple as we're going to start with the snow color as listed in the main biome image. We're going to go there. I already have it selected over on the other side. I'm just showing you what you will want to do to flip back and forth and select those colors. Use the eyedropper, select the snow. That would have put that color right there as your forward color or front color. Let's bring these back up. And right away, let's kind of block an area out here to kind of get a rough idea or get it really close to where we're going to be going with this. I'm using my shift key while I'm adding to this. And I think that's going to work out good for us right there. There we are. And we're going to want to fill that with our foreground color. That's the snow color. That's this color right there. And this is one of the main reasons I decided to do this live. I wasn't paying attention over on the right hand side which layer I was working on. And yeah, I spent earlier today doing a whole production video for this and had it near finished, and I thought to myself, along the way, instead of editing out some of the mistakes I made, people are probably going to want to see these because they're going to make the same mistakes, and we're going to have to show people how to fix those along the way. Hence my choice for deciding to do this live instead. So I accidentally filled in on this layer right here with the snow. We want to back up. All gone. Come back to our new layer that is now selected, and we're going to fill that with the snow. Foreground color, snow. All right. And for right now, we're going to come up here to the blending. And we want to be able to see through this to kind of see where our cities are. Here's a little bit of the magic for that. It'll kind of give us a rough idea where everything's at. You're still going to be able to see it. And the next thing you want to do is you want to choose a color in the preview that matches up with one of the colors. In this particular case, I use the green. So I've already got the green selected. I'm going to, save having to go down there and do that. But we're going to flip that around to the front. And we are going to create a new layer. Okay. The reason we're adding another layer is in the event that we screw up or we decide we want to change it, it's easier to just redo the layer as opposed to trying to redo a commit to the actual snow layer. So let's go ahead and select a brush. I found for working with these maps, I set the brush to about 3 pixels. You want to make sure it's a hard brush and not a fluffy one. That will make a difference in the biome generation. It doesn't really come out that well if you've got a fuzzy edge. So we're going to go ahead, make sure we've got that selected, and you want to kind of be as erratic. It helps to maybe drink a little bit more coffee than you normally would, something to kind of get you a little jittery along the way. We're going to start drawing. Start on one side of the map, and we're just going to kind of do a jagged line through this. It's okay if you goof up. If you goof up, you can always go back and fix it. I'm going to go ahead and come down this way. The more jagged the better. It'll look a lot more natural in the map. Let's see, I purposely and on purpose decided, whoa, I wanted to add a little bit more to the snow, but I went too far. What do? You just stop. Go ahead and go to your eraser. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's make our eraser brush a little bit bigger. Let's bump that up to 50. There we go. That's a little bit better, a little bit easier to see. I'm going to come back to this line and just bring it back. And we're going to stop it about right there. Go back up to our brush, and matching the lines up on the top side, that's up here, doesn't make as much of a difference as having an extra line or extra hanging off on the bottom. I'll show you why in a minute here. So let's kind of go back on our line a little bit and just start drawing again. There we go. And there we are. Alrighty. Go ahead and look your line over a little bit. If there's any other areas that you want to fix, you can either choose to fix them now, or you can opt in for fixing them a little bit later. I prefer to do it after the fact because you'd be surprised how nice this will end up looking without any major edits. As long as you don't have any areas that are like perfectly straight lines, like I just drew over here. Let's erase that. As long as you don't have any really long, super straight or squared off lines, it's going to look good. So back to our layer. Now that we're pretty happy, or we're pretty comfortable with that, I think, changed my mind here. I just noticed a little spot that I don't particularly care too much for, so we're going to erase that. Come back to our brush. And like I said, as long as you connect both lines, we're going to be good here. I'll show you why in a second. There we are. That looks pretty good. Once we've gotten to that point, we can go ahead and come back to this layer. Remember, we set its blending to about 70-ish% so we could see the cities through it. We want to put that back up to 100 for now. Now you can actually see your edges, and if you want to make any alterations to them, now is a good time to do that. I see one that I'm really not particularly happy with. The rest of them are okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up to our initial layer. Go to my eraser, and I'm just going to fix this little spot right here. Go back up to my brush. And again, we're staying on the inside of our line because this is going to be the snow biome right up here. So we're going to kind of just wiggle that, and there we go. That's going to work out pretty good. I think, just for the heck of it, hey, there's a flat area. I don't particularly care for that. You just come down here and do that. Once we're happy with that, you're going to merge the layers. Make sure that you're on that top layer. There are hotkeys in Photoshop for doing this. In this particular case, it's Control-E, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you where you would also find that. Merge down. You don't want to merge visible, you don't want to flatten the image, you just want to merge down. Now our line and the original snow block that we put in are one piece. Here's where the magic starts. You're going to use the magic wand tool and select in the bottom half. See what happens there? It doesn't bother picking up on any of the inside lines, and the edge that you're looking at right here is going to be the true edge of the snow biome when we're finished here. So right away we're going to go ahead and hit delete. Now you notice that everything is still selected. What you want to do is you want to select, and we're going to inverse this selection. What this is going to do, instead of selecting all of this up here, it's going to only select the top part. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't. It's probably a good idea to stop. And we're still working on this part of the image. I'm going to select the whole thing, and a little bit of a cheater help here. You're going to want to select move it up one, down one. All I did was use my up arrow key and my down arrow key to raise it one, and then I dropped it back down once to select just this area right here, because we want to get rid of these lines. And the way you do that is you go back and you fill it. We don't want to use the foreground color, that's our green, remember. And depending on which color you have chosen, in some cases the edge of the line may contain remnants of the other color, and in our particular case it's going to be green. I already know from working with this quite a bit that sometimes you'll get a pixel or two that might sneak through there, and what I prefer to do is I go ahead and I contract. I'm going to go to select, modify, and we're going to contract this by 1 pixel. Now what that does is that actually moves the selection inward 1 pixel. Problem with that though is along these edges over here, if we're going to be doing anything, that can present some problems if we go through and try to delete the area beneath it. So I'm going to go back and inverse that again. And we're going to select one more time, and in this case we're going to contract it. That's going to bring the selection down 1 pixel and cover up just about any of those errant green pixels that may be floating around in there. So there it is. Hit delete one more time. If there was any green hanging out there, it's gone. Now I did notice on the edge of one of my cities right here, I got a little bit close with the snow. That's not bothering me in any way, shape, or form. If you're that particular, you can go ahead and fix that. One way to do that is to come up here, and we're just going to use a selection tool, and I'm going to start inside my snow, and I'm going to start selecting. And we're going to delete that. Nope, that doesn't work, does it? Undo clear. Show you something here. We're going to fill that. No, that's not going to work either. Sounds almost like I did that on purpose, doesn't it? Well, I did. Let's go ahead and undo that. Go ahead and click out of there. And let's zoom in a little bit. And we're just going to use the eraser tool to clean up just a little bit. I'm going to change my brush in this case to something a little more wild. Need to make that a little bit bigger. Size 11 is maybe nowhere near enough. There we go. That'll be the ticket. Alrighty, there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, snow's done. On to the next. What are we going to want to do with, let's say, desert? I'm thinking I want to put the desert just before the snow, or maybe off to the one side of it a little bit. I don't do a whole lot in my maps with the other zone. And let's see, that's called the Wasteland. And I think I'm going to reserve part of this area over here for the Wasteland. I think I did that on my previous one as well. Yeah, we're going to keep this area over here for the Wasteland. That's the pinkish area that we're looking at. Oh, go back and change our brush, by the way. And okay, I got a pretty good idea what I'm going to do here. So we need to make another layer. And we need to pick our color, by the way. Let's hide these for a moment. And let's select our desert color. Come back here. Now, if you're doing this on a regular basis, you can go ahead in Photoshop anyways. You can define your own custom colors and have those just sitting there and ready to go every time. I do a lot of different bits of work with Photoshop, and if I was to start doing that, my color swatches would be crazy pages long. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to kind of want to grab through here for the desert. It's going to be kind of tight to try to go between those cities, so I think I'm going to swing it down and then bring it up through here. So just so I have a rough idea, let's go back up to our layer, not making that mistake that we did the first time. And let's block this off. And what is the lowest or the furthest point south that we're going to be reaching with our desert? And that's going to be about right here. Yeah, it's going to be about right there. So let's block this off, squeak down a little bit, and if you can help it, you want to try to make sure that your lines aren't landing right on top of some of the wilderness POIs. It's not going to make that much of a difference in this case because two of the ones that I'm looking at that I was concerned about were not even really going to touch, but there we are with that. And we're going to go ahead and fill that with our foreground color. That's the desert color. We're going to go ahead and set the blending on this layer down to about 70-ish%, so we can kind of see what's going on through it. Click off of it to deselect it, and once again just kind of mentally work ourselves over how we're going to go with our desert. I think I'm going to swing down through here, go down this way and swing up through here and then around again. So we're going to go ahead and we need to pick a different color, and good old green's going to help us out here again. So let's go ahead, come down here. Select our green. And come up here, make us a new layer. And set our brush, size 3. And I think I'm going to kind of go this way. I think that's pretty good. There's a couple of flat areas in there that I'm going to fix. I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing here, like so. That's sticking out like a sore thumb to me. And we got any other rowdy ones? Here's one right there. Here's another one right there. I think that's going to look pretty good. Let's kind of smooth that part out right there too. Oh, let's bring it down like this a little bit. I like that a little bit better. Okay. Yep, I'm going to be happy with that. So let's go ahead and come down here, set its blending back up to 100% so we can kind of see those lines, get a little bit of a better look at them. Everything looks pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Now, one of the things that we are going to run into, and you'll notice that I did this earlier today without realizing it right away. I didn't start the line over on this side. We need to close this whole section off temporarily. So need to come back here, come up here, make sure that we're working on the layer with the line, and that's why we didn't merge them right away, and that's why we set the blending on that to look things over and check. So we're still in brush mode, and now I did this on purpose. I went ahead and I brought the line beneath the snow. In this case, this is an open area that we aren't going to be doing anything with. That's not going to work. When we go ahead and delete things, we're going to have a little bit of the desert showing in here, and that would end up giving us this kind of weird, snaky little bit of desert in there. So you want to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and hit undo on that. You need to make sure that you stay within the biome that we previously worked on. There we go. That'll work out great. Let's come back here again, set that blending back again. There we go. Our line is closed. So we are going to come in here and use our magic wand tool. Need to make sure that we're on the right layer first before we actually end up using it. Let's go ahead and merge this down. Remember those hotkeys in Photoshop, it's Control E, or again, you're also going to go up to the layer and merge down. Now they're one piece. We can really use the magic wand to only select these areas in here. And we're going to go ahead and hit delete. Oh, what happened there? What happened there? Undo clear. I wonder why that happened. Well, if you encounter that, by default I work with roughly a 25 tolerance. Set that to 15. The green and the yellow are very close. I knew this was going to happen, and that's why I did that. Getting close. Let's set the tolerance to 5. Getting better. Now you'd ask yourself, why is this doing this? Well, there can only be a couple of reasons. Let's look here, check the blending. Everything is normal. Let's try our anti-aliasing. Still not working good for us. So let's back up. Almost there. I encountered this earlier today. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't want to do it. There we are. We kept going until we split the layers again, and we're going to want to see or try to figure out exactly why our lines aren't registering. The magic wand tool should not have any issue whatsoever selecting the differences between these two areas. So I need to come back up here and take anti-aliasing off. So let's go back, and we're going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out. And I'm going to go ahead and, on this temporary layer, and moved that up and down one time, and I'm going to fill that. It really doesn't matter which color you opt to use, but let's go ahead and use white. And let's see what happens here. Let's go ahead and merge that down. Let's go ahead and select that. That appears to be doing the same thing. Yeah. The tolerance on that should not have to be reset. So you need to kind of back up a little bit and debug what's going on here. And I'm suspecting, very possibly, normal opacity 100, brush 3. Everything is good there. Let's go ahead and redo this once. We don't need this layer. Let's go ahead and set the blending properties and the opacity of this down so we can see our cities one more time underneath. Create a new layer. And let's give this a shot again. We need to select our green color from here. Bring these back. Make sure that we're working on this layer. And brush size. Everything is normal. Hardness is all set. Let's try this again. So we're going to start on the edge. And I'm going to be a little faster with this just to get us up to speed with where we want to be. You'll notice sometimes if you work a little faster, you're a little bit more precise than trying to overthink it. Okay, those should be separated. Let's go ahead and come here. Make sure our blend is up to 100%. It's looking good to me. Let's go ahead and select. It's kind of interesting. I have no idea why. Oh, we need to merge the layers. Let's go ahead and merge those down. Let's try that again. There we are. For whatever reason, that first time it didn't work, folks, but I showed you how to correct it, and why we work with these multiple layers is in the event of something screwing up, you're not going to lose a whole bunch of work that you already had done. So we're going to go ahead and contract this. The reason why is, remember, we used the green color as our line, and we don't want even the hint of a single pixel of green kind of hiding along our boundary or border line. So we're going to expand that. Inverse. We need to make sure that we're on this other side here. I was already there. There we are. Now we can inverse it. And then we can select and expand that by that 2 pixels. And we're just going to go ahead and fill that with our background color. That's our desert color in the background there. So there we are. Now, how do you match those up though? Oh, and goodness gracious, look at what we have at the bottom here. I knew this was already going to be happening, so we need to come down here, and we're just going to delete that. There we are. Your next question is going to be, but how do we get both of those working together? Well, We just want to put the snow up on top of the desert. So I'm going to flip that. There you are. See how things are kind of starting to come together a little bit? And next thing to perhaps think about is either the wasteland or the forest. Earlier today, I did the wasteland first, and it ended up to me being a lot more work than I felt was necessary. So this time around, I'm going to work on the forest next. Beforehand, though, we're going to take just a brief pause. I'm going to drop some music on. I have to make a quick nature call. So I will be right back in a minute or two. Okay, sorry about that. When nature calls, nature calls. Back to where we were. Alrighty, we're going to work with the forest. We already have the forest color here, and we are going to go ahead, and we don't want to merge these layers just yet. There's a reason for that, or a potential reason. Let's hope we don't need it, but it's not going to hurt to leave them that way. We're going to go ahead and make a new layer. Layer 4. And now the thing we're going to be having to deal with is working with the green. If we're using the green for our line, that's not going to work out very well for filling this whole area in. So we're just going to use a different color. It's not going to hurt. I already have an idea where I want to go with my forest. I want to have the forest kind of sneak between these guys here, and I want to bring the forest down through here and around this way perhaps. So zoom in a little bit. Let's go ahead and block this area off. And I'm going to come down through here. At the highest point, I think I'm going to go there. We need to make sure we fill these other areas in here with the green. And I think that's going to work out for us. I'm going to bring it down through here. No, let's bring it over just a little bit more. I'm going to bring it down through here. Yeah, let's wiggle it out just a little bit more. And I feel kind of adventurous. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I screw up, we can always go back and fix it. I could almost go a little Bob Ross here and say there's no such thing as a bad mistake, just happy ones. Let's go ahead and do this here. Okay, I like that. All right, we're going to go ahead and fill that in with our foreground color. That's our forest color. Hey. I might have had it set to background. See, things like that can happen. There we are. Deselect that. And we need to go through and we need to set that blending down a bit so we can see our cities. And we're going to want to follow the lines again. Go to our brush. We need to use a different color this time, remember? So we're going to kind of loosely follow our desert biome along the way here. Start from the edge. Really doesn't matter how crazy you get with this because it's going to be underneath and you're not going to see this. But I kind of, at every opportunity, try to practice a little bit with being erratic, if that makes any sense. Okay, we're getting close to where we're going to want to peek out into our biome area. So there we are. And I think that's going to look good. So now in this case, I didn't actually make a separation in an individual layer. I did that on purpose. I wanted to show you what's going to happen and that it can work. I prefer not doing it that way. I'm not going to be altering the edges of this biome in any way, shape, or form, so you can kind of skip that step if you're confident that you can get a good line at the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the blending on that. Set that back up to 100. And come over here to our magic wand tool. Select all of that. And we're going to go ahead and delete that. There's our edge. And the wasteland is going to be the easiest, I think, out of all of this. Yeah, I'm going to like that. So we're going to move this underneath our desert. Looking pretty good, I'd say so. Now, once you're confident that you're happy with the snow, the desert, and the forest biome, you're going to go ahead and merge these. Now, if you're not as adventurous as I am, you can make copies of these, so in case you screw up, you can go backwards, or you can rely on the step backward feature that the graphics programs have. Under normal circumstances, when I'm working on my own, I duplicate the layers because I like to backtrack on all of my work, and if something doesn't work out right, or if I want to tweak something a little bit, I've got individual layers to work with. But just for the sake of speeding things up a little bit, we're going to just go ahead and merge these. So let's merge these down. And in this case, merging was under layer, merge down. Never use these other two in this particular case. So what we can go ahead and do now is we can go ahead and select. Aha, we'll get to that in a moment. Select, select, and these little areas right here, that was probably left over from when we were doing some of our edits. And this is exactly why I prefer having multiple layers. This was easy to fix, so you're just going to hold the shift key down. Hold the shift key down and box that out, and it disappears. Now it's all selected. I can see just faintly right there, there's a little smacket of desert. We'll fix that in just a moment. But let's do our wasteland. So leave that happening there. come down here, select our color for the Wasteland. There it is. Bring these back up. And we're going to inverse our selection because currently all of the white, all of the desert, and all of the forest, snow, desert, and forest are currently selected. That's everything on the right hand side. We want to just select this area where we're going to be putting the Wasteland, so that's another inverse. And we can go ahead and fill it. That's our foreground color, that's our Wasteland color. We're going to go ahead and do that. Hey, there we go. I did it once again. I didn't check to see which layer I was on. I accidentally filled in that layer on the bottom, so we're going to hit undo. Now it's funny, earlier today when I was making the production video for this, I didn't make these mistakes but once. I think I did it the very first time, and I just went back and checked each time. And in this case, it's probably more concerning myself about how I'm speaking to you and making sure I'm covering everything along the way. Either way, I selected the new layer. The area that we want to have as the Wasteland is currently selected. Now we can fill it with that color, foreground color. There it is. And one last little thing I like to do. I'm going to modify that edge just a little bit. I'm going to expand it by just 2 pixels. Boink. Makes it just a little bit bigger. Make sure all those overlapping edges are good. And we're going to fill it one more time. Foreground color. There we go. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and go up here and clean up that little spot right there. And that's going to be our white. We don't have to flip images to get our white in there. You can use a brush. I'm lazy. I prefer to block it in and just fill it. All done. And there you are, folks. There is your finished preview. And I'll show you what the cities will look like. Let's blend that. Bring the blending back and kind of show you where all your cities and what biomes they're going to end up in. There you go. It's not as hard as you think. There's the new one. And of course you can see what the old one looks like just by seeing that right there. Shit. Not shit. Last but not least, just make sure you go back and you set your blending back to 100%. Click on OK, and you're going to go ahead and, because we were working with the preview, you got to make sure that you save this as the biome. This is the original biome image right here. This is the name of the file that you want to save it as. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I've already got some of my work in here before. You want to save it as a PNG. You'll save it as Biomes. Yes, we do want to replace it. Give it a moment. And it's all done, folks. That's it. Let me see if I can show you. There we are. The one I did earlier today, as you can see, I ended up doing almost the same thing. A little bit of an alteration, a little bit of a change, but you get the general idea. Use the random world generator to create as many cities as you want, pack them in as tight as you want. You can use this method, change this method if you have an easier way or a better way of doing it, and you're aware of it, feel free to stick with that. But for those of you out there that have no idea how to do this, This is my way of doing it. It works for me. Go ahead, feel free to experiment, try different things. One of the biggest things just to concern yourself with is make sure that the colors that you are working with stay exact, and everything will be good. The biomes image we can close that because we're not doing that. The biomes image, I'll show you one of the earlier ones that I was working with earlier today. There it is. This is what the world folder will actually look like, and you can see I have work in here that I did from earlier today, and you can see once again that was the original. That's what we ended up with. And I've got the previewers from the 7 Days to Die map previewer in there as well. You can leave those files in your world folder. It really doesn't make a difference. Or take them out and put them in a work directory like I did. Like so, just to work with those and keep things separate. That way you don't mess your originals up until you're completely confident and happy with what you've got going there. And let me go back here, and I'm just going to show you what I missed or neglected to show you because I wasn't looking at my OBS screen. There we are. It's a work folder from how I was working, and this is the one that I did earlier today. And again, let me just say that it doesn't matter if the preview images and a renamed biome image is in your world folder. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever in the operation of the game. Again, just make sure that the colors that you're working with are the exact 4 colors that are used in the initial creation of the biomes. Any changes or alterations to those colors are going to have undesired and strange results in your map when you hop into the game. That's it. At any given point in time, if just say it's like, you know, I really want to make this forest biome smaller, or if you want to throw some of your players or users, if you're on a multiplayer server, for a loop, you can go ahead and switch them up. Change the snow to desert, change the forest to snow. You could feasibly, going this route right here, change seasons. Something to contemplate without changing your map or without having to regenerate a new map file. I hope this information was helpful, folks. I had fun doing it, and I'm really happy that instead of doing a production video that cut all of the mistakes out, all the voice and visual edits and things like that, I really preferred doing it this way because I'm human just like everyone else, and I can make mistakes on the fly. Works out best because I was able to show you how to correct them on the fly and live. Last but not least, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the content. If you don't care for the content, don't do either of those. Either way, have a good day, folks.